Hi, and welcome. Today I thought I'd do something a little different and read the novels of Dostoevsky. I don't know if you can see it. The novels of Dostoevsky, or Theodore Dostoevsky. He's a very depressive Russian man, and this one is The Brothers Karamazov. It's an uplifting tale about three brothers, and I just managed to buy, bribe, and steal my way into getting this book. So today we're going to read it. And before we open it, I thought we'd talk about just how cool the way it is, because it's got this nice little gold leaf thing here, and I love not necessarily this pattern, but the side one, the one over here, just from all the cool little grooves it has and all the ways it weaves in. And I don't have the best of cameras, so you probably can't see all the details, but it is beautiful and old. I think this book is from the 1930s, was the last date of the publication. And here's this very cool and amazing, intricate, detailed cover. And you can tell it's old. It's also got a rip along here where the preface was, so maybe it was very beautiful back then. It has a nice little list here on the left side about what kind of books he published. So he published The Brothers Karamazov, The Idiot, The Possessed, Crime and Punishment, The House of the Dead, The Insulted and Injured, A Raw Youth, The Eternal Husband. That one I like. The Gambler, An Honest Thief, White Knights, The Friend of the Family. And then it's got a list of novels by Ion Turgenev. I've never heard of this one. I've heard of Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy? Tolstoy. Because he's another depressing Russian. But I'm assuming Ion Turgenev is also a very depressing Russian. Now, the actual title page here is a little bit more impressive. It's got an interesting little printing stamp. I think that's the stamp of the company. And it has a little quote under it that says, "Verify, vilify, I say to you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone, but if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit." That's from John. I think it's saying X 11:24, so that's probably saying chapter 11, verse 24 is my assumption. I have never read John. I did once try and read the Bible. I got 200 pages, and then it kept repeating. There are only so many times you can hear the story. And then they had these children before you lose interest. Well. Now, it was printed in London by William Hayne. Ooh, many names I can't pronounce today. William Heinemann Limited. Must have had German ancestry. Here we go. This is the translated preface. A few words about Dostoevsky himself may help the English reader to understand his work. Dostoevsky was the son of a doctor. His parents were very hard-working and deeply religious people, but so poor that they had lived with their 5 children in only 2 rooms. The father and mother spent their evenings in reading aloud to their children, generally from books of a serious character, which should explain Dostoevsky's grim fashion, but also his later life, which we'll get into right now. Though always sickly and delicate, Dostoevsky came out 3rd in the final examination of the Petersburg School of Engineering. Shouldn't it be St. Petersburg? Petersburg School of Engineering. There he had already begun his first work, Poor Folk, This story was published by the poet, Russian name, here we go, Nekrasov, in his review, and was received with acclamations. The shy, unknown youth found himself instantly something of a celebrity. A brilliant and successful career seemed open before him. But these hopes were soon dashed. In 1849 he was arrested. Though neither by temperament nor conviction a revolutionist, Dostoevsky was one of a little group of young men who met together to read Fora and Proudhon. I've never heard of these people, but apparently it was worth killing them over. He was accused of taking part in conversations against the censorship, of reading a letter from, Byelinsky to Gogol, and of knowing the intention to set up a printing press under Nicholas II. That's Tsar Nicholas II. That stern and just man, as Bruce Baring calls him. That was enough, and he was condemned to death. After 8 months' imprisonment, he, with 21 others, taken out to Semerovsky Square to be shot. Encouraging. Writing to his brother Mikhail, Dostoevsky says, "They snapped swords over our heads, and they made us put on white shirts, worn by a person condemned to death. Thereupon we were bound to threes to stakes, to suffer execution. Being the third in a row, I concluded that I only had a few minutes of life before me. I thought of you, your dear ones, and I contrived to kiss Plechev and Doblev, who were next to me, and bid them farewell. Suddenly, the troops beat a tattoo. We were unbound, brought back upon the scaffold, and informed that His Majesty had spared us our lives. The sentence was commuted to hard labour." Now, this is where I bring in my own opinions, but if you don't know, Russia has a grand tradition, along with a lot of the empires, a lot of the old ones, specifically the French and the Austrian and the Russian, of sending convicts to work camps far away. Britain also did this. You may have heard of it. It's the country that neighbours mine, Australia. But Russian work camps were particularly unpleasant and brutal and cruel. And they still technically don't exist today, but they do. And he was sent, this one here, sent to one of those work camps. And oftentimes when you get sent to one of those work camps, you don't expect to come back, because they work you so hard that you will most likely die. And it says something to Dostoevsky that he didn't die. Even though he was weak and frail, he didn't die. And that either means he's a very clever or a very cruel man, or both. Or was a very clever and cruel man. He's obviously now dead. He's not immortal, not that clever. But very few authors go through such suffering. And as we read on, we'll find out that when he comes back, he basically has to hold up his entire family and pay for them and care for them, even though he can't. And that's something beautiful and horrifying. So I'm going to skip to the very last line in this description, because I find it kind of funny in a way. Because it's picking up the own publication, and I'm always for self-promotion. The Brothers Karamazov is for the first time published in England. Unlike the French and American versions, this is a complete translation, unaltered and unabridged. Alright, now, let's get into the first chapter. I'm only going to read 4 pages today. Has a list of contents. It's a very big book. I think over 829 pages, my God. Part 1, Book 1, The History of a Family, Chapter 1. Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov. Oh, Lord. Alexei Fyodor Pavlovich I'm just going to call him Alexei. Alexei was the third son of Fyodor Karamazov, a landowner well known in our district in his day, and still remembered among us owing to his gloomy and tragic death, which happened 13 years ago, and which I shall describe in its own proper place. For the present, I will only say that this landowner, for so we used to call him, although he hardly spent a day of his life on his own estate, was a strange type, yet one pretty frequently to be met with, a type abject and vicious, and at the same time senseless. But he was one of those senseless persons who are very well capable of looking after their worldly affairs, and apparently after nothing else. Theodore, for instance, began with next to nothing. His estate was one of the smallest. He ran to dine at other men's tables and fastened on them as a toady. Yet, at his death, it appeared that he had 100,000 rubles in hard cash. At the same time, he was all his life one of the most senseless, fantastical fellows in the whole district. I repeat, it was not stupidity. The majority of these fantastical fellows are shrewd and intelligent enough, but just senseless, and a peculiar national form of it. He was married twice and had 3 sons, the eldest Dmitri by his first wife, and 2, Ian and Alexei, by his second. Theodore's first wife, Adalia Ivanova, belonged to a fairly rich and distinguished noble family, also landowners in our district, the Mizovs. How it came to pass that an heiress, who was also a beauty and moreover one of those vigorous, intelligent girls so common in this generation, but sometimes also found to be in the last, could have married such a worthless, puny weakling, as we all called him, I won't attempt to explain. I knew a young lady of the last romantic generation, who, after some years of an enigmatic passion for a gentleman, whom she might quite easily have married at any moment, invented insuperable obstacles to their union, and ended by throwing herself one stormy night into a rather deep and rapid river from a high bank, almost a precipice, and so perished entirely to satisfy her own carapace, and to be like Shakespeare's Ophelia. That's actually a really beautiful line there, and I'm going to bother you all by stopping. For those of you who don't know, Shakespeare's Ophelia, or Ophelia, was the lover of Hamlet. And when Hamlet pretended to be mad and scorn Ophelia, to the point where she went herself actually mad, she lost all sense of time and place. But she knew who had killed Hamlet's father. She knew. Because in one scene, just before she kills herself, throwing herself into a river, she hands them flowers. And the one she hands to the murderer, it symbolizes deceit and lies. And there's something beautiful about that. The way she dies, it's sad. Because Hamlet kills her by trying to find a killer. And she is driven so mad and so abused by the men in her life that she decides to throw herself into a river. And I think on that, the children are playing. So I'm going to stop because they're getting quite loud. but thank you for a very short and very birdie reading. I hope you have a good day. I hope it's magical. And I hope you enjoyed this. And I also hope you don't mind that child. It's not actually ours, but this microphone is so powerful it's picking it up all across the room. Now, you have a wonderful and wondrous and joyous and marvelous and beautiful day.